Greetings YouTube, and welcome to Hatchet Jack 13. I'm Hatchet Jack, and this is a place where I'll be sharing some backwoods skills with you. You can also find me on Main Primitive, where I kind of keep a journal. It's more of a vlog site. It's a great site for me to stay in touch with family and friends and let the world see what I'm up to. You can find Main Primitive linked in my sidebar. Probably right down there somewhere. You can check me out there as well. But this is a channel where I'm going to share more specific techniques and skills in application. Today I am glad to start out sharing my favorite fire building technique with you. Before we get into that, I'd just like to, say a note on fire. Whenever you're using fire, make sure you use extreme care. Make sure that you have the ability to put out any fire that you may create, and make sure that you're not creating a dangerous situation where you place your fire. Make sure it's clear above and all around you, and be careful of roots underground, because they can ember for quite some time and come to the surface and start a fire long after you're gone. Alright, so we're back here at the hearth, and I've got the wood I need collected up. So, like I said, this is called the self-feeding fire, and this is the point at which it gets a little bit interesting. For those of you who have never seen this technique before, it's going to seem backwards to probably just about everything you ever learned about fire building. It's certainly not the method that I was taught, and I found it quite amazing myself when I first saw it. And then as I experimented with it, I saw how much sense it made, and how useful a thing it is. We're going to build a fire here that basically doesn't need to be tended very much. It's great if you're alone and you have other tasks to attend to once you get your fire going. It's also great for cooking because you don't have to, put more fuel in, so you disturb the food less, disturb the fire less, so you get a nice steady flame during your cooking. It takes a long time to get down to a bed of coals, so cooking on a bed of coals, this will take a while and might not be the best solution for that particular circumstance. But I use a tripod grill, and I find it works magnificent for that. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with the biggest wood we have, and we're going to make a solid layer across the bottom of the hearth. It'll look something like that. And you want these kind of as tight together as possible, and I'll explain that in a little while when I give you my theories on why this fire works so well. Your next layer is going to be perhaps a little bit smaller. I'm going to use another layer of the same size stuff because I want my fire to last a little longer. And I'm going to be starting it a little earlier in the evening than I usually do so that I can share it with you. So, the second layer goes across in the opposite direction. And you keep alternating layers using smaller and smaller wood. Now, some of the benefits of this, like I said, is going to burn down from the top to the bottom, going from the smallest wood to the largest wood. And one of the reasons this fire works so great is because it's very efficient with the use of the heat. As your small fire begins to go and your sticks on top begin to catch, the heat from that, instead of being dispersed into the ground, is dispersed into the sticks underneath of it, so that when they're exposed to the flames, they'll be prepared to burn. They'll already be up to temperature, so they start really quick, and you get a nice smooth burn through the entire pile. Another thing that's great about this, and this is why I think this method works so well, is even though you're starting out with an awful lot of fuel here, this is going to burn very calmly and steadily from the top to the bottom. And I believe the reason for that is that the wood underneath, even though it may be at its combustion temperature, is not exposed to enough oxygen to be able to get a flame. So you may see, and you'll see as you experiment with this yourself, that the wood underneath, it may begin to char, and it may begin to cinder a little bit, but it won't actually begin to burn until the flame reaches it, where the wood from on top is no longer in the way of the oxygen, so that only one layer is really burning at a time. And you'll probably see that, and like I said, if you experiment with this yourself, you'll see that immediately when you begin to experiment with this. So I'll be back with you this evening when I'm ready to start up my fire, and we'll check back in at intervals so that you can see how this burns through. The amount of wood I have here right now will probably burn for about 2 hours, maybe a little bit more, like I said, with minimal tending. Alright, we're back. I'm sorry for the darkness. I got back to camp a little later than I hoped to. The only thing I have done to this fire since I left earlier was I finished off the top layer just to finish it out. Otherwise it's exactly the same. No accelerants or any other combustibles have been added to that. And I'm going to go ahead and light it up. My headlamp is the only thing giving light right now, so it's going to get kind of dark for a moment, but we'll shed some light on things in just a moment. This fire could be started with any fire starting technique. When you get right down to it, the fire itself is produced in a pretty traditional manner. I'm going to use the extremely primitive Bic lighter to light this piece of birch bark tonight, just for the sake of ease for the video. I don't know if you can see, but I lit the birch bark on fire, and then just took my pile of little twigs and threw it right on top there. I'm now going to take my smaller sticks that I had left behind earlier and break those up on top of it to get it a good start. And from there, I can pretty much leave it alone for a couple hours. And I'm running low on battery, so I hope I actually get through this. But I'll try to turn the camera back on at intervals and show you what it looks like as the fire burns through. But this is sufficient fuel to begin this fire burning, and from here, that's about all it takes. Alright, well, here we are. It's about 2 hours since I lit this fire, and the bottom row of fuel wood is about half consumed at this point. So I'm going to call this the end of this video, and I'll see you around next time.